All right, guys, in today's video, I'm answering the #1 non-real estate related question that I get asked most frequently, which is what kind of gear do I use to make my YouTube videos? So in this video, I'm going to be answering that question. I'm going to show you guys all the gear that I'm currently using, from cameras to lights to microphones, audio recorders, computers, editing software, and all of that, so you know how I'm making these videos. If you're interested in that, stick around and we're jumping into it right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mark Ammons with Elevated Agents and LPT Realty. And again, in this video, we're going to be talking about the specific gear that I use right now in May of 2024 to make my YouTube videos. What this video is not is a recommendation list of all the gear that you should personally go out and buy if you're thinking about getting started in video. I will do another video with a recommendation list of what I think you should probably start with if this is something that you're wanting to get into. This gear is not necessarily it, but this is the gear that I have settled on after a few years of doing this. And so I just want to share with you what I'm using, some things you might like, some things you might not like, but we're going to dive into it anyway. So jumping off first, we're going to get into cameras. So the backbone of any good video setup is a good camera. Now, all the cameras that I use here in the studio are all Sony cameras. That's just what I decided to go with, but there's really no right or wrong. You can go Sony, or you can go Canon, or you can go Fujifilm, whatever you want. There's a lot of great cameras out there. However, I have settled on Sony as the platform that I use. And if you're going to start getting into DSLR and mirrorless cameras like this, I do recommend staying within a single brand, because most often the interchangeable lenses are specifically for brands of camera bodies. And so if you have a lot of different brands of camera bodies, you're not going to be able to intermix your lenses, which is one of the huge advantages of having this type of camera setup. Now, the first camera that I ever bought, which I still use today, is a Sony a7 III. That's this camera right here. It's a Sony mirrorless camera, full frame. It's a really, really good camera. There's a few things I don't like about it, and that's why when I decided to go to a multi-camera setup where I use multiple cameras, one that I'm looking at directly and others that are off to the side, I decided to go with something different. This was the newer, kind of a newer version, if you will, of the Sony a7 III, which is the Sony a7C. C meant compact. Now, when the camera got a little bit more compact, it did lose some of the ergonomics. This camera right here, the a7 III, is more comfortable to hold if you're doing handheld stuff. But frankly, all of these just live on a tripod right here in the studio. So that doesn't make a huge difference for me. One of the other advantages of this is it has dual SD card slots. So you have redundant storage, which again, if you're shooting photography for a wedding, very important to have backups. What we're doing here, it's not necessarily something that you need. One of the things I don't like about it is it does have a rear screen, but the screen doesn't actually flip out so that you can see it when it's pointed at you. It rotates like this, but that's all that you can do. So if you want to have the camera looking at you and see what you look like, you need to get an external monitor. Now, I've gotten to the point that I know how to set this up. I'll take a clip, see if it looks like I want, and then I'll just set it up. I don't even use my external monitor anymore, but that was a really big drawback for using this every day. So when I needed to get a new camera, I got this a7C. Some of the things that I really like about this is it has a fully articulating flip out screen. So when the camera is looking at me, I can see myself right back in it. I can make sure that I'm in frame, look the way I want. That's a huge advantage for me. One of the other really big advantages is that this a7 III has a 30-minute record limit on it, and you cannot get around that record limit. Now, for a lot of what you're shooting, that's probably okay. But if you've seen some of the videos that AJ and I like to make, some of these things could be 45 minutes to an hour and a half long. So if you're shooting that on a camera that has a 30-minute record limit, that kind of sucks. You have to remember that it's got a 30-minute limit on it, and then every 25 minutes or so, stop shooting, go over, hit record, stop the recording, start recording again, or otherwise it will just stop recording and you'll have no idea and you will miss out on potentially hours worth of content. Ask me how I know that. So with this a7C, there is no record limit. I can press record and go as long as I want. It uses all the same lenses. It shoots 4K. I shoot all my stuff at 30 frames per second. and I shoot everything in manual. I'll do another video on how I set my cameras up. If you're new to DSLR or mirrorless cameras and you're a little intimidated by them, they're really not that bad. Once you learn how to use them, they're super easy, and you really can kind of set it and forget it. Set it up once, and then as long as you keep the same lighting, the same atmosphere, you really don't have to do it again. And if you do have to make some tweaks, they're not that bad. So that's what I use for cameras. Now, like I said, the cool thing about these cameras is you can change the lenses. When I buy these cameras, I actually don't buy them with the lens on there. I just buy the camera body, and then I get the lens that I want separately. For the videos that I do on YouTube, I use two main kinds of lenses. They're both made by a company called Tamron, and they're really just two different focal lengths. So the focal length is kind of how much it will zoom, essentially. And so these are adjustable lenses. So these are zoom lenses. So they can change how much they're zooming. This one here is kind of a wide angle lens. This is a 17 to 28 millimeter Tamron lens, and it has an aperture of f2.8. We'll do another video on camera lenses, how to choose them, what all the numbers mean, but that's what this is. It's a Tamron 17 to 28 f2.8. I use this for wide shots. If I've got a small room and I need to get a couple people in it, this is a great lens for that. But the lens that you're looking at right now that this is being shot on currently is another one of these. This is a Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter f2.8. So it's the same manufacturer. This lens is a little bit longer, but this one telescopes all the way up. So a little bit longer lens, and it's going to get a lot more zoom. So you're going to be a little bit closer to your subject. You're not getting that wide angle. I like this for these types of talking heads. I like this when I need something wide angle. But the cool thing is you can use different lenses on the same camera body. So you get one camera, and then from there you can start to grow your lens collection. Now, inside the camera, you've got your SD card. That's the little storage device that all your videos and your photos are going on to. What you don't want to do is spend all this time making beautiful videos and then realize that your SD card, you cheaped out on it, you got something crappy, and now it's broken. So use good SD cards. I've got some around here somewhere. I use these. They are made by SanDisk, and they're the SanDisk Extreme Pro. You'll figure out what size you need. I use a lot of 256 gigabyte and 128 gigabyte SD cards because when you're shooting in 4K, and particularly shooting long videos, it's not unusual for me to have a single video file that may be 60 gigabytes. And so having a small 32 gigabyte memory card in the camera is just not going to cut it. So go ahead, spend a few more dollars. These things are pretty cheap. Get a little bit more memory, and that way you will not run out and start filming and then halfway through run out of memory. All right, so now that you've got your camera set up with your SD card, with your camera body, and with your lens, you need some way to hold the camera. So I use everything on a tripod. They're just regular cheap tripods. Like the tripod to me, if you have a studio setup, is probably one of the least important things that you can get. A really cheap one like this works fine. Pretty much anything that has an adjustable ball head on top where you can adjust that. You don't need what's called a fluid head, which is more like what they would use on like a video camera. This is fixed. You're going to put the camera where it's supposed to be and just lock it into place. So you get something that has a little ball head. I happen to use these little fall cam quick disconnects. I think they're really good. I'll do a video on these later. They just help save some time. But really, you just need any kind of tripod. I have a bunch of different ones, some that have latches, some that spin. They all work the same. Just have some kind of tripod that you can use to hold your camera. Now, you can set the camera up on the tripod just like it is, hit record, and start making videos, and they are going to look great. The downside is they're going to sound like crap because the audio that comes through these cameras is generally pretty bad. Now, there's a lot of different solutions out there, and I have tried most of them. I've tried camera-mounted microphones. I've done boom microphones. I've done lapel mics. I've done wireless mics. I've done everything. And what I have settled on is this microphone right here, which is made by Shure, and it's the Shure SM7B. This is probably one of the most popular microphones that you'll see on professional podcasts and things like that. It's just a great sounding microphone. And one of the reasons I went with this is I was spending a lot of time with my other microphones in the editing process trying to clean up the audio to make it sound better. There were echoes and there were things that I didn't like. With this microphone, the audio that you're listening to right now is coming straight out of this microphone, going into my audio processor, which we'll talk about in a second. and there is no additional processing done in editing. So the audio that you hear right now is the audio coming straight out of this, being recorded in there, and then being synced up with the video in post-production. So one of the big differences with this kind of setup, though, is that the audio is completely separate from the video. So the video camera that's set up right now is not communicating, talking to, connected with this microphone. They're completely separate. The camera is still recording audio on its own. The quality is not very good, but it's recording the audio. This is also recording the audio, but at a much higher quality. And so what I do when I go to edit these videos is I take the good audio and I replace the bad audio with it. So I synchronize this audio with the audio from the original version, and then I've got the good video quality from the camera and the good audio quality from the microphone, and now they work together. So that's my secret. Now, one of the things about a microphone like this is not your standard microphone that you can just plug into your camera or that you can plug into your computer with a USB. This has a camera connection on it called an XLR. It's a balanced microphone. It's the same kind of thing that you would have if you were in, a professional music studio. It's that kind of setup. And so this needs its own audio recorder. You can't just use this mic by itself. You need another piece of gear. There's a lot of different ones, and the one that I use is sitting right beside me here, and it is the Rodecaster Pro 2. Now, this is not a cheap piece of equipment, but it does a phenomenal job. And one of the things that I really like about it is it has presets built in that are specifically for the most popular microphones, the Shure SM7B being one of them. So it has vocal presets in this processor to make this microphone sound as good as it possibly can right out of the box. So again, that's why I don't have to do any post-processing, is I'm using a good microphone with a good audio processor. All of that does come at a bit of a cost, but for me, one of the most important things about video is good quality audio. People will suffer through some less than ideal video if they can actually hear what it is you're saying. So audio quality is a huge important factor when it comes to your overall video being a good video. So if you had to spend a little bit more money on a microphone or a camera, honestly, I think spend a little bit more on the microphone, because it's going to actually go farther towards making the viewer engage with the content that you're producing. Now, once you have your camera set up, you've got the camera body, you've got the lens, you've got a good microphone, you've got some audio. The next thing that you need is a way to light your subject up, right? Your subject is you, and you need a good light. Lighting is crucial, and it's one of the things that I see a lot of video quality suffering from, is they just don't have good lighting. You can buy the best quality camera in the world, but if you don't have a good lit subject, you're not going to get good quality video. So get a good light. Your cheapest option right off the bat is probably just going to be to use a window, but it's not repeatable, and based on the weather, it can change, and it's just not the best light. You can't control where it's coming from. So I use something called a lantern softbox. I use a GVM 150 watt lantern softbox. I've got it sitting right here. I'm literally touching it right now, so that's how close it is. It's 2 feet from my face, and I actually have a pole that's mounted to the ceiling, and this clamps on, and it sits right above my computer, about 45 degrees off the side of my face. It gives a nice little shadow on this side, and that's my lighting setup. And essentially, those are the main components you need to actually shoot the video, right? A good quality camera body, a good quality lens, a nice quality SD card, a tripod to mount it on, a microphone to talk into, something to record the audio, and a good light to light your subject up. Now, as far as editing goes, I use a couple different programs, and the one that I started with is an Apple product, and it's called Final Cut Pro. You have to be a Mac user to use Final Cut Pro. I edit on an iMac, on an M1 iMac. It's got upgraded RAM and all of that stuff. I do a lot of 4K video footage editing for like travel videos. And so it's fairly intensive. For what we're doing right now, like these kind of talking head videos, you don't need anything fancy. Frankly, you can edit these things right on your phone. I just happen to like editing on a computer, on a desktop, a laptop, something like that. It's more comfortable for me. But Final Cut Pro, the biggest advantage for me of that software is I can edit multicam footage very easily. So if I have 2, 3, 4 camera setups, all that need to be synchronized with each other, and I'm switching from one camera angle to the next, Final Cut Pro has a very easy way for me to do that. It also has a lot of support in terms of things called plugins. So if you want to put graphics on the screen, or you want to do different introductions or things that are kind of pre-packaged for you that you don't have to build yourself, it has a lot of those out there in the marketplace because it is a very popular editing software. Now, a software that I've started to use recently is called CapCut. It is free. There is a paid version. For what the paid version costs, I think it's probably worth it. There's some really good pro features that it offers, and it keeps adding more and more features all the time. There's a lot of features that the free version of CapCut has that Final Cut Pro probably doesn't even do as well. And so I think a combination of the two is probably good for me personally, because right now, CapCut does not have an option to easily edit multicam footage. If that ever does happen, I probably won't use Final Cut Pro very much anymore, but that's the editing software that I use. So guys, I hope that's helpful. That's the bulk of what I use. Again, Sony cameras, if you were gonna buy an A7 III or an A7C, definitely go with the A7C for video. If you're a photographer, you might be better with the A7 III. Any of the Tamron lenses are great. If you want something pretty versatile, again, this 28-75 is amazing. Get yourself a good quality SD card, any kind of tripod that will work. A good quality microphone. We'll go to some different options here, but if you want the creme de la creme, that Shure SM7B is definitely it. Get yourself something to edit on, and you'll be good to go. So guys, I hope this was helpful. A little bit of insight in terms of what I use. I'll do some other videos coming up about my studio setup, because spoiler alert, everything that you see behind me is actually completely fake walls. This is actually a room within a room. The whole thing's held together with magnets. If you're interested in seeing how I built this and how I put this together and how it all works, leave a comment down below. I'll do like a little video tour about this. So that's pretty much it when it comes to gear. I know it seems like a lot, and frankly it is. This is a pretty expensive setup when you look at the camera, the lens, the SD card, the tripod, the mic, the audio recorder, the lights, all of that. But like I said, this is several years worth of refining what I've used, finding things that work, finding things that don't work, finding things I like, finding things I don't like. And for me, this is a really good, easy to use setup. So if you want videos that look exactly like this, that's the equipment that you can use to make that happen. But I'm going to do a lot more videos on this video front. You know, I get questions all the time from people who reach out to me, who partner with me here at LPT Realty about making content to grow their business, whether that's their real estate business, whether that's an agent attraction business, whatever it is that you're trying to grow. Video is an amazing way to do it. Because like I said, it allows you to leverage your time. Spend one time filming a video, put it out there, and it will work for you 24/7, 365. Generating leads and bringing in prospects who want to do business with you. So if you want to get started in video, like, subscribe, check out more of the videos that are going to be coming up. We're going to be going through very specifics on lenses, on camera bodies, on microphones, on editing. We'll be doing a lot of step-by-step tutorials of exactly what you need to do to get started in video, because not knowing is one of the biggest things that keeps people from moving forward and taking that first step and just hitting record. So my goal is to get you on camera making videos that get better and better all the time. If you're into that, subscribe. And until then, I'll see you on the next one.